Welcome to Vegan Ultra. It's Thursday night, so it's Vegan Chat with Adam and Sean. So, all year, we've been helping you to achieve your best self, the most epic year ever. Whether or not you've tried Veganuary, we just want to help you become your best self, living the Blue Zone lifestyle. So, we've talked about diet, we've talked about exercise, we've talked about planning goals and how to achieve them. But today we're talking about something so important, and that is stress management. Because guess what? Life is all, what is that joke? If you want to make God laugh, tell him your plans. Well, life is what happens to you while you're making plans. And a perfect example is today. Today, I thought it was going to be a fantastic day, going to finish work a bit early, getting some extra walking, just feeling fantastic. Guess what? It's pouring outside. My hip is really bothering me, so I have to call it quits after 6 miles. And guess what? At work, I had basically a run-in with one of our customers. Just, it's one of those things. You probably had this happen where you have some boss from hell who's riding your ass and just being completely unfair when you're doing everything right. And this has happened. My mother had, she was basically like let go, even when her sales team did a petition to basically, the CEO saying, we just won an award for sales and we can't do this without her. Didn't matter. I delivered record results to another client. Guess what? Company restructuring. Your contract's terminated. And this just happens where somebody will treat you badly, cruelly, just try to make you feel like shit. Or at least that's how you perceive it. And today, we're here to help you with 4 pieces of life-changing advice that can help you deal with life stress, be a joyful vegan or just a joyful person on your way to your Blue Zone utopia. So, Sean, how has your week been going? Any examples of stress that you've been dealing with?
Yeah, horrible week. I think the week started off okay, and since we haven't caught up on a vegan chat for a little while, I haven't even told you this yet, but I thought that I would sign up for Simon Hill's Living Proof Challenge, which is a 12-week lifestyle challenge. You take a bunch of measurements. He's calling them the 10 truths, and then you apply a lifestyle program for 12 weeks. And I thought maybe I won't do that while I'm moving. And then I thought, moving is going to take a while, and I can't put my health on hold for any little thing that pops up. So I think now is the time to do it. So getting all my numbers and measurements, and they're coming out pretty good. And then one of the last 2, I had to go test VO2 max, and I couldn't get in for a formal test, but they have a couple of alternatives that you can do that have a good correlation. And one of them is the Cooper test, and one of them is the Beep test. I haven't done the Beep test yet. I still have to go do that. But I did the Cooper test, and it came out, pretty good, like somewhere around average, or maybe slightly on the high side of average. So that's nice.
Hey, could you just tell us, for those who don't know, what is VO2 max? What does that actually tell you?
Good call. So it's the volume, that's the V of oxygen, that's the O2, and it's the maximum that your body can process. And the standard way of checking that is to get on a treadmill and measure with an oxygen sensor. You get a face mask, and a sensor will measure the amount of oxygen that's being processed.
Oh, okay, so it's a measure of physical fitness.
Yes, it is. And yeah, the whoever's administering the test, they're there to crack the whip and they're watching some live values, and they're going to make you work harder and harder until you feel like you're going to die. And then that's your maximum. So I had to do a version that I go off and do by myself without taking the actual measurement, because we've got some studies that show that if you do a similar version of the test, it has high correlation to the actual measurement. So that's good, comes out good. So that left me with a bone scan. And so Simon Hill is saying is that your bone density is one of the top 10 factors that correlate with longevity. Mm-hmm. So I go in for my bone density scan, and I've always been a lightweight guy, so I wasn't really sure what to expect, but it wasn't good. So it's my weak area out of all of the 10. So when I got my results, I was disappointed, but then I kind of took stock and realized that I have like pretty much 9 out of 10 measurements that are coming out pretty good, some with a little bit of room for improvement, and one area that I have to work on. So then I started ramping up my calories to support going to the gym, and I decided that we talked about New Year's resolutions, and I was going to make a foundation of generally good, healthy diet habits. So then when I got that number, I decided it's time to prioritize some weight gain. So I punched into the NAH body weight planner, and I saw like the number. I just went from my low BMI to the bottom of the healthy BMI range, which is just 10 pounds up from where I am. And I've been 10 pounds heavier than I am before. But I punched that into the body weight planner, and it's like, you should think about eating like 3,000 calories, and you should go about this for about 6 months. And I'm like, it's okay. It's going to take me 6 months of dedication to gain 10 pounds, and I have to do this in a healthy way. So I'm ramping up my calories, I'm ramping up my fiber. My digestive system is not handling it very well. So I'm like, yeah, I thought I'm, launching into these very manageable goals. And so now I've got that stress of, well, what am I going to do to adjust my plan and do it in a way that's healthy? I've been a little stressed about it. And then, work just came crashing down on me this week. And if you would have asked me yesterday, I would not be smiling and chuckling right now. I was at near paralysis, but I slept on it, and I knew that I would be more rational today, and I knew what would happen. I would wake up the next morning, which is today now, and realize that there's still the end of the workday, and I still have to go eat, and I still have to exercise, and I still have to spend time with my family, and I got to go to sleep, and I'm going to wake up the next morning, and the world is going to keep turning, and that's what happened. And so I had a better day at work today. I don't know.
This brings up a first tip, which is being mindful. Basically, I know mindful meditation, right? It's a stereotype, vegans, liberal, hippies. It's like, but no, being mindful simply just means being aware of how you're feeling, like your triggers, how you're likely to react, how you're feeling right now, and almost just being okay with it, where you understand. A perfect example, just today, I was so upset about what happened at work that I was telling my uncle, and oh man, I was going off on this customer. How about basically like all the stuff I wanted to do, so angry that I was almost, wanting to be vengeful and vindictive. And he told me, like, look, man, calm down, because don't let someone treating you badly make you into a bad person. And this is where these kind of techniques, where it's like you understand, you can step back and you can accept what's happening and the anger, and you validate it. It's like, you know what? I'm upset. I'm right to be upset. I'm being treated unfairly at work by my boss, or, just something. It's like, I got sick, or, it's like you had a setback with your bone scans. It's like, you know what, man, this sucks. This is a setback. It's totally valid to feel upset, frustrated, or angry or even hateful at times. But the idea is the stress management. This is where the Simple Habits, an app that I found actually on Shark Tank that teaches you how to meditate. And it's changed my life several ways, just about teaching me like these 5-minute meditations, various different realms about, stress management, becoming your best self, even sleep. Oh my goodness. Let me tell you, man, that they have 30-day, once a day, 20-minute sleep session where best sleep of my life, absolutely amazing. But one of the things they teach is like this thing, it's called a physiological sigh, where you take a deep breath in, halfway through, you take a pause, then you finish it. And studies show, man, it slows your heart rate, it calms your sympathetic nervous system, that fight or flight. It really does help you calm down. And like you realize, it's like, the next day with a good night's sleep, you're going to feel completely different. And this is kind of the thing where there's actually, there's almost this kind of reminds me of an article I just read about intrinsic versus extrinsic people. So intrinsic people are people who find validation and self-worth from becoming better versions of themselves, making a positive impact on the world, being the best version of themselves. That's what makes them feel valued and important. Versus the extrinsic people, these are people who they find their validation, their self-worth from outside sources. So it's like my job, my position, my income, my net worth, the car I drive. It's like if I drive a Porsche, well, that makes me a better person. It's like, no, that's not how it works. And the thing is, it's like some of these people that you'll run into that seem hateful. I mean, there are people who are just like that, who they are so miserable, they want to kick down and make everybody miserable. They're the kind of people who, when they get upset, they kick their dog. The only reason they have a dog is so they have something to kick when they get upset. And it's just like, you know what? We almost have to pity these people, because the closest they will ever come to happiness is essentially just feeling a sense of power over somebody else. That spreading misery is the closest they have to goal accomplishment. And that's just no way to live. And this takes us to the second tip. And this is something you did yourself. I'm very proud of you. Perfect example in your story. You took perspective. That that this bad day, this too shall pass. As I once said, quoted Robert Herjavec, tough times never last, tough people always do. It is true. It reminds me of this Navy commercial that I once saw. If someone made a movie about your life, would anyone want to watch it? It's like, well, I mean, think about it. It's like all these great stories, whether it's actually bioepics or just, stories out of literature about the hero's journey. The hero doesn't just rise to the top with no challenges. It's like, no. Of course, it takes 10 years to become an overnight success. And this is where we have to take perspective of all that this is a journey of 1,000 miles. And that single step you take, like you said, you gotta spend time with your family. You gotta eat right. You gotta exercise. You gotta take care of yourself. If you don't get a good night's sleep because you go out, you drink too much, you eat a bunch of crappy food that you think is gonna make you feel better, well, the next day you're gonna wake up, you're gonna feel terrible. And you're still gonna be upset. And it's gonna be much harder to overcome that. And this basically almost comes into the third tip. This is something that in the moment can be a challenge, but that's be thankful for the suffering that you face in life. And this might sound crazy. It's just like, but I mean, this actually reminds me, it's watching Shark Tank, they mentioned It's like sometimes you worry that my children growing up, it's like, I grew up struggling. Like I grew up with a single mom. I grew up in poverty, and I had to overcome so much. I personally, it's like I've been so poor before that I lived for a month when I was studying my business on pickle juice and mustard, just like Mark Cuban with his ketchup sandwiches. And it's like, so what happens with my kids? It's like, oh, my kids will never know suffering, so they'll never be able to rise to the challenge and become their best selves. It's like, well, good news is this: in life, don't worry, suffering will find them. And the key is to remember that obviously you can't let the suffering destroy you. Like if you get sick and you die, that's the ball game. You can't overcome that. But if you can overcome anything that doesn't kill you, will literally make you stronger. The process of hormesis. This is where, like, what really helped me overcome some of these challenges at work in recent weeks is like, look, I've been through this before. I know that when I overcome this, like a year from now, things will be better. It's like, I have a plan, I have family, I have support, I have friends like Sean. I have purpose in life. Things will be better in a year, and I will be thankful for the opportunity to overcome this. I mean, that's what they taught me in the military: adapt and overcome. Every challenge is an opportunity. And remember what we talked about in certain other videos about that positive stress. That is what creates growth. And then finally, and this is, Sean, I hope you have an example that you can give us for this weekend. Oh yeah, perfect, right? Because the Michael Greger thing is to celebrate the wins. Now, look, my grandmother, my family, we've dealt with a lot of shit in the last year. But this weekend, we're celebrating at Olive Garden. And let me tell you, they got one heck of a vegan menu. The minestrone, that's about 140 calories a bowl. The spaghetti with marinara, it's about 500 calories a bowl. The garlic breadsticks, oh my God, really, why any of us go to Olive Garden? 140 calories. They're also vegan. The entire meal I planned out, it's about 2,000 calories, which for a restaurant meal is pretty freaking amazing. And look, you might say, oh, come on, a restaurant is like 2 hours. But you know what? 2 hours with family, with loved ones, delicious food. And at the end of the day, it's like, look, we know, there's a saying I heard recently, something like, the past is history, the future is a mystery, but the present is a gift. And yes, it's a pun, but it's absolutely true. We don't know what's going to happen next month. You might feel sick. I mean, I recently just overcoming acute bronchitis. You don't know what's going to happen at work. You might be flying high. You might be crashing. Heck, someone might buy your company. You might lose your job. But this is why it's so important. As I like to say, weekends are for dreaming. Weekends are for celebrating. Take stock, family and friends, Fido and food and fitness. What are the things that matter to you in life? And celebrate them. And it's just like, this weekend, my family was celebrating with my grandmother at Olive Garden. And Sean, I know, do you want to tell people about the epic time we're going to have at that Michael Greger and, how not to age seminar? Gathered all of my friend Bakal's coming, my father's coming. What are you celebrating this weekend?
I'm pumped. I'm really excited to get to the Greger event. I've been following Greger and Furman and Barnard and Esselstyn and Campbell for around 10 years now. And I had the good fortune of meeting Rip Esselstyn and Dr. Michael Clapper. And this will be my first time, though, going to an event where I actually get to sit and absorb a bit of lecture. And I have held off on powering through the like, so Gregor's on this tour for his How Not to Age book, and the the press got spooled up months ago when I already knew that I was going to go to the event. So the urge to indulge in that media, like I always do when there's new media, was severe, and I just had to resist because I
So
want
you
to
didn't
take
want
it
any
easy.
spoilers.
Right. Yeah, no spoilers. I want to be fully engaged. I want to go sit in a room with Gregor talking and not have my brain try to trail off into other things like, yeah, I already listened to this. Oh yeah, this is the thing that he said in that one interview. Oh, this is what he said at that talk. This is what was in this chapter of the book. So I've been patient. I've been holding off. I haven't gotten any spoilers. I'm super
Oh, dude.
excited.
Let me tell you,
Yeah.
I mean, if this is anything like some of his lectures for his other two books, you are in for a life-changing treat. And before we go, I just want to, so you, of course, you're my hero, you're my guru, because you've done this for 10 years. I'm on month 7, and let me ask you this. Do you remember, before you went vegan, before you started trying this healthy blue zone lifestyle, what was stress management like for you? Because you, just like you said, yesterday you were riled up, and for good reason.
Yeah.
But today, man, you calm, you collected, we can see you're a joyful vegan. So how was it before you did this whole blue zone vegan lifestyle change? How was your stress management back then?
Gosh, that's such a good prompt, and you're gonna have to ask me this again because I'm actually gonna reflect more and journal on this a little bit and actually go backwards, because one of the virtues that, and I've gotten, my parents were a good mesh of teaching and wisdom and virtues, and they have complementary but slightly different key strengths. And one of the ones that I remember from my mom was even just understanding the concept of patience. And patience has been, I don't know, maybe a white whale is putting it a little bit dramatically, but patience is the virtue that I've continued to learn, that once I think that I've got it down, then I don't anymore. And I think my pattern is taking it for granted. I start like, oh yeah, I know how to cope with these things. Here's a little setback. Here's how smart and wise I am, and here's how I know how to deal with that thing. And I've got it down, and I'm a patient and humble and happy person. And then it doesn't take many months before I'm reacting to some scenario and going, what patience did I ever think that I had? So I think that I'm learning that right now. And one of the tools that I never used to use way back before I was vegan, and I think I've taken a lot of lessons from the work environment. I have a number of mentors now who I never thought that I needed mentors. I thought I was smart enough to figure out everything on my own. Well, I call them once in a while, and they talk me off the ledge. And I did that yesterday and today. I had a friend who I talked to last night, and he let me air out all of my frustrations about work. And I don't know how much that has to do with specifically veganism, but certainly it's part of the journey of wellness and self-discovery. And then today I had a follow-up with one of my work mentors, and it was a much shorter call because I already got to air all my grievances out. And he ended the call the way he usually does, and he said, Sean, don't forget that it's just a job. And so before 10 years ago, I probably would have been like, yeah, buddy, I know it's just a job. I know I'm going to go home and be fine. Okay. It's not what I called you for. So I think I'm learning to do that a lot better now. And I'm learning to accept the wisdom that I can get from other people. Other people are smart. They have something to offer. Everybody has a perspective. And even if I've heard it before, doesn't mean that maybe I don't need to hear it again. Lest I become one of my favorite quotes is from Star Wars, where Leia is telling Darth Vader that it's something like the more you tighten your grip, the more star systems will slip through your fingers. And it's a movie that so many people have seen. It's a relatable quote that reminds me of my idea before I went to that quote, that the more you try to control outcomes, the more likely you will get the opposite of the outcome that you want. And when you're talking about what your uncle said, don't let bad behaviors manifest in you. You don't go turning into the person who's doing those bad behaviors. I think the reason why we might drift into doing that is because we start to try to, like, we think this isn't right, it's not fair, it's not justified, this is the outcome that needs to happen, and oops, mistake. Just do the right thing, be the person that always does the right thing, and you can't control the outcome. You can only control your inputs.
Absolutely. Control the controllables. Stress is what happens to you, but success is how you react to it. And this, honestly, is like the proudest part of the last few months of this whole vegan journey for me, is when my dietitian said, look, I've never had a client or a patient that has been through what you've been through and has become even more vegan, has become more committed to the cause, to the transformation. It's remarkable, and I feel proud of that. But now I feel this is just an opportunity to inspire people, my family, you, anybody watching on YouTube, because you know what, life is hard, but at the end of the day, it's the challenge that makes it so glorious when we achieve success. And that's what, let's end that today with, let's thank everybody for joining us for Vegan Chat. I hope you join us next week when we give you more potentially and hopefully life-changing inspirations on how to live a Blue Zone vegan lifestyle, the healthiest, happiest way to live, so that you can build your own personal utopia, even if your life's a mess, because guess what, everyone's life's a mess. So thank you for joining us. Please subscribe to this channel, like this video to help other people find it on YouTube, and consider trying a Blue Zone vegan lifestyle to help me lose 103 pounds in 6 months and become the healthiest, happiest, most resilient version of myself, despite some pretty epic challenges. And it can help anybody become the best version of themselves. It can help you become the Captain America version of yourself if you give it a chance and are powered by plants.